Can you tell me what is really causing this prolonged dry spell?
Well, droughts are not uncommon as part of our historical records, and especially in countries like Jamaica, we have often had highs and lows in our rainfall pattern, which then result in reduced inflows from our streams and rivers. You also will result in the land becoming drier, and there's also an increase in the demand for water at those times, which ironically, at the same time that there's an increase in the demand for water, it's the same time there is a reduction in the amount of water available to meet the needs of the customers. For the National Water Commission, we have always been faced with this dilemma because more persons will turn to the National Water Commission as their only source of water, not only to deal with the normal domestic chores, but also to deal with things that they would have used other water to meet those needs before. So persons will now use water from the pipes to maintain their animals. They will use it to maintain their gardens. When ponds and other things dry up and some small springs in the community, then persons will now turn entirely to the National Water Commission. So generally, we normally have some drought conditions which occur from time to time. This year, though, has been particularly severe because of a combination of changes in terms of climate change, which may have contributed, but even more specifically, the development of a global phenomenon referred to as El Nino, which basically makes the rainfall pattern in countries like Jamaica less dependable. And so for 6 months, 7 months, 8 months in some locations, we have not seen the normal rainfall that Jamaica is used to having. This is not only a Jamaica phenomenon. It is now affecting nearly all the countries in the Caribbean. So Antigua and Barbuda have been affected by it. So has Grenada. So has Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, St. Kitts Nevis. A number of the Caribbean countries have been faced with various degrees of severe drought conditions as a result of El Nino conditions. At the same time that El Nino results in severe droughts in some parts of the world, it will also affect the weather pattern in other parts of the world, resulting in severe flooding. So we have had severe flooding being reported in a number of other countries in the Pacific and other parts of some northern countries. There is nothing that the National Water Commission or Jamaica per se can do about El Nino. The challenge we have is how do we make sure that the limited rainfall we are getting and the limited water that we have is used most effectively and spread to serve as many of our customers as possible. We also look at long-term strategies for development and expansion of the water supply infrastructure so that we would not be dependent on only some sources of supply, but that we have a more diversified and a more robust water supply infrastructure. And that's part of the challenge of advancing the development of a country like ours. You need to put in more infrastructure as well.
Is the Hermitage Dam sufficient to serve the community of Kingston and St. Andrew?
Well, the Hermitage Dam is not sufficient by itself to serve customers in Kingston and St. Andrew and was never designed to do just that. When it was built back in 1927, the population in Kingston and St. Andrew would have been significantly smaller. But in addition to that, you cannot measure the development of a water supply infrastructure simply by the number of dams you have. Kingston and St. Andrew is served by a number of different water supply systems and water supply sources. The Hermitage Dam being just one. A very important one, but just one. Since we constructed the Hermitage Dam back in 1927, in every decade of Jamaica's development history, various different water supply schemes have been implemented across the country, not only here in Kingston and St. Andrew. You have had the Mona Reservoir being built back in the 1940s and 50s, holding a capacity of some 809 million gallons, which is about twice